The following podcast may contain, if you're lucky, offensive material and explicit language. Oh, for fuck's sake, you're not letting your kid listen to this, are you? Run, little Timmy, run!
Welcome to the Pièce de Resistance bonus episode number 24 with Dale Leopold and Chris Mezzalesta and very special guest, singer-songwriter Lauren Mayer. We now join this episode already in progress. Well, hi there, folks. This is Dale Leopold, and I am joined here by our music director, Chris
That's par for the chorus, yes.
Yes, indeed. We talk for a living.
Hi, folks. I'm your music director, Chris and I'm used to it by now.
Mezzalesta.
Oh, that's me. That's right, yeah.
Yes, Chris Mezzalesta. So anyway, we are joined today by a very special guest, Lauren Mayer, from way out in the West Coast.
Hi.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Greetings.
I saw Lauren just like 2 weeks ago performing live at FumpFest in Chicago. Wow.
Yes,
And Chris made me sound great.
I was sound guy.
He was amazing.
And Chris
That
was still on.
dirty.
We can cue the porn music we have.
Oh, that's right.
You made me sound good. You made me sound great.
I have a music cue for that, yes.
I bet you do.
Or did he make you sound bad? Well, no, never mind. Anyway, we won't go there. So,
why not?
we've already had the scene on the podcast where Kellyanne and George Conway are having angry sex while Lisa is stuck in the closet, just a few feet away, trying to forever.
Okay, now I'm thoroughly sick to my stomach.
There you go.
Our work here is done.
So
I call
is she.
people, it's the Trump diet. All I have to do is imagine any of the people in his administration having sex. I get so nauseous I don't want to eat.
Yeah, that'll
It's
do
the
it.
Trump diet.
The Trump diet.
Hey.
Indeed. Great. So, Chris was with us like immediately after FumpFest down in Orlando. We were there for the Podcast Movement Conference, which was kind of fun. And we had like 5 of us there, but he was regaling us with stories of FumpFest. Now, was had you been there before?
Yes, this was my 3rd time. I went for the first time in 2017, and I was telling the story on stage when I walked in, and I thought, I don't belong here, because everybody looked way cooler and way hipper and way more up on pop culture and video games and cool movies. And, I'm a middle-aged suburban mom, and I kind of walked in going, ooh, I'm too normal and too square and too old. And they were so welcoming. And I did a couple of numbers in the showcase, and I got off stage, and Devo Spice said, you're coming back next year, right? So I came last year and this year, and I had a blast. And actually, Chris, you don't know this story yet because it just happened, but I got to meet the Double Clicks after my set, and they were the ones who started the standing ovation after a couple of my more feminist songs. And
Cool.
They're on a world tour right now. So they're with the Library Bards in Edinburgh at the Fringe Festival, not Edinburgh, Louisiana, or wherever. They're in Scotland.
The real Edinburgh.
That's
They're
the
Scotland.
real
And they're
Fringe
coming
Festival.
to San Francisco in October, and they asked me to open for them.
Excellent.
I am now officially hip and cool,
Oh my
and it was
gosh.
even, and so I'm beyond thrilled. So
Yeah.
all due to
Fantastic.
FumpFest.
Cool. Well, I'm planning on going next year because it sounds like it'll be a lot of fun.
You have to go. It's a blast.
Yeah, definitely some like-minded souls there for sure.
Oh, you
Oh
think?
yeah.
Yeah, just a bit.
I was a little worried to do more of my political stuff this year, and because we'll talk later, but I do a song a week, and there's plenty of material, and I thought I'm going to just go for it and do some more political stuff. Well, it went over like gangbusters, and people loved it, and So it was nice. Like, generally people who appreciate comedy music aren't going to be on the other side because there's no comedy music on the other side.
Right.
Because there's no comedy
exactly.
on the other side because it's not funny.
Intentional, that is. Intentional comedy.
They don't know how
unintentional.
to
Oh, yes. Plenty of unintentional. Actually, my song next week, which I will be submitting for the FUMP after my next one goes up, is called Trump Killed the Onion.
You heard it here
So
first,
stay
folks.
tuned. Yes, and it will be coming out soon.
They are shedding tears at the Onion for sure, and it's yes, indeed. Oh God,
I said this last night on the Fumpcast. It's one of the reasons that like Spike Jones kind of quit doing what he was doing because we got to rock and roll, and in those days he thought there was nothing more hilarious than rock and roll. He couldn't send up any rock and roll any more ridiculous than he and his audience thought it was. And the same thing is happening to the Onion. That's why in the last couple of weeks we're seeing Facebook posts that are saying, "Hey folks, this is not the Onion."
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to preface most news stories that with
when I put
these
my
days.
videos out, I always put little slides in the side of in the corner of the video, and it started with news headlines or something to explain what I was talking about or maybe to prove my point. But I started posting Onion headlines, and then I stopped doing it because people would sometimes take the Onion one seriously, but more recently it's been because they're not as funny as the real headlines.
Exactly.
They just can't come up with anything. I mean, they're trying to joke Pete Buttigieg speaks fluent bot. That's, even when they're trying to make fun of, there's just, how can that top Trump wants to nuke hurricanes? I mean, honestly.
Buy Greenland and nuke hurricanes. It's like, that's kind of writes itself, which is, good and bad. I mean, for one thing, it's job security for us in that there will always be lots of material.
Yes.
Although we've said, Lisa and I have said that we'd gladly sacrifice in order to be rid of Trump, certainly. But in the meantime, hey, we have no shortage of things.
And it's not just that there's no shortage. I do hear from people as much as, yes, I don't feel like I'm making a meaningful difference in the world apart from when I can perform at benefits. But putting out comedy, people will say it is the only way that they can cope. And, if you can laugh at things, then you can get, okay, yes, we're not going to take this seriously. We're going to laugh at it. And then we're going to go, write postcards or knock on doors or support Greenpeace or whatever your cause is.
Or just feed the dog.
Yeah. Sometimes, or feed the dog or take care of your family or be nice to your neighbors. Or I have a friend who's moving to San Diego to help, immigrants process their paperwork. I mean, we can all do something, and that's what we can do if we have a sense of humor.
Absolutely. And there's that Mark Twain quote that I love that is, against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand. Yeah. And that's kind of, we put it a little differently. We say, subscribe, laugh, resist for the podcast. And, it's that kind of thing. You need that mental health break to say, am I crazy or am I tired of throwing things at my TV and whatever? It's like, okay, I can laugh and say, hey, these are clowns. Now we need to do something about getting rid of them. Yeah.
And making fun of them helps remind people, no, this isn't normal. We can't normalize the insanity that's coming out of in the entire GOP that's still enabling him.
Absolutely.
And if we continue to point out their hypocrisy and their stupidity by mocking them, that is a palatable way for people to hear the message that's not, oh my God, the world is ending, because that's terrifying and it may still be true, but at least we can point out, there is stuff to poke fun at, which means there's stuff to resist. That's how I kind of take it.
And it is a basic founding principle of this nation, which a lot of those folks seem to, I don't think they've forgotten about it. I think they just know that the guy that I like is in power. He, the guy that represents what I want us to be and do and wish on others is in power now. And I don't care whether it's right or wrong. I'm going to support that and F anybody else.
Own the libs. Yes.
Just own the libs.
Which that's that's great if they weren't also shooting themselves in the foot, because those same people who are loving him are the farmers who are getting screwed by the tariffs, or the people in red states who don't have access to Medicaid. But that's fine. People can, I mean, I know people, and because I'm outside of San Francisco, I have friends who have ended friendships because people either voted for Trump or they knew somebody. I mean, I have a friend who's fairly liberal, but her husband is a Trumper. And I know people who will not talk to her anymore. It's like, that's that's playing their game, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
They're hurting themselves by supporting him.
I just like to point up the emptiness of the whole position. It's that there was even like a university, not a university, but a conference center. This right-wing group was holding a whole professional development seminar on how to meme to own the libs. And
Oh, my Lord.
They're not very good at it. Did you see one of them put out a whole video mocking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and talking about how they call it shallow thoughts from AOC, and it was a video of her talking about climate change incredibly articulately. So she owned them. She posted, "This is great. They might have thought they were mocking me, but I really appreciate the help getting my message out."
And
they're just not good at it.
The point of it is that when history looks back on this era, nobody's going to care how well the right owned the libs. Nobody's going to care how well the right memed. Nobody's going to care about that. They're going to look at policy. They're going to look at actions. They're going to look at what people did. And hopefully in some small measure, they'll look back as fondly on us as they did on the Smothers Brothers and, the protest singers of the 60s and things like that. Which is one of the other reasons we do what we do.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of doing what we do and the music and so on and alternatives to the guy that's in the White House, probably a good time to listen to your tune, Any Functioning Adult.
Absolutely. If you follow politics these days, you're gonna find big problems we are facing more than plenty. So Democrats must promise that we'll gladly get behind any functioning adult for 2020. We've got a lot of candidates ensuring much debate among the pundits and the cognoscenti. Don't get me wrong, that's fine as long as we just nominate any functioning adult for 2020. Any functioning adult will be a real relief from this narcissist illiterate Twitter-in-chief. I know that means the bar is pretty low, but what the hell? I would welcome any decent, normal person who could spell and read and who actually knows what's in Article 2 of the Constitution. So sure, discuss the issues with your neighbors or your friends as you sip your Starbucks Frappuccino venti. But let's agree a functioning democracy depends on any functioning adult in 2020. Oh, and while we're at it, let's dispense with likability, 'cause that just gets applied to women, misogyny. And don't insist the country isn't ready yet, oh please, for a qualified contender who possesses ovaries, or who's gay, or a person of color, or Jewish or Muslim. By the way, a woman won the popular vote last time by a lot. Just saying. So turn out for the primaries and vote for your first pick to replace this would-be fascist presidente. But no matter who gets nominated, we've all got to stick with any functioning adult in 2020. I like Kamala Beto, even creepy Uncle Joe, or Elizabeth and Amy, or that white guy, what's his namey? Julian Castro's kind of sweet, or that sexy Mayor Pete. Frankly, I'd even vote for a woo-woo guru with her aura. When events are so tormenty, let's not get all dissenty to any functioning adult in 2020.
And how did this come up? How did you come up with
Actually, it came up because I have an adult voice student. My day job is teaching voice lessons, and I just assumed, because I met her through a country club show that I music directed, I just assumed she was conservative. And, she's well off and belongs to a country club. Well, she showed up, and I walked out to her car to tell her it was okay to come in early. And I saw that she had a bumper sticker, which is the first time I had seen it, saying any functioning adult 2020. And I just started laughing, and I thought, well, there's a song. And basically, once I decided that, the song wrote itself. So it was inspired by a bumper sticker.
And Chris and I were talking. We were just interviewed last night on the Fumpcast and talked about controversies of, on both on the Dr. Demento group, social media in general. And you've had a bit of experience with that too, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I caused with that song, Any Functioning Adult, caused a big foofle on the Demento Facebook group, which it's funny, I don't generally put my political ones there anymore because it's not a specifically political group. I thought Any Functioning Adult was as much making fun of bickering Democrats as it was making fun of Trump, but apparently people did not take it that way. But no, I've been doing these songs weekly since 2012, and anytime I mention gun control or reproductive rights, the trolls start to come out.
Oh, God,
and the first time they did it, it was when I combined them both, and I did a song called If My Uterus Were a Gun, because basically they would stop regulating it because they want to regulate bodies but not weapons. Oh my God, they came out in droves, and it was, I mean, I don't want to make light of it. I got just a taste of what some of the women in Gamergate got. I mean,
oh my God, yes.
Somebody should put a weapon in your various body parts. You should be drowned in bleach.
Oh, boy.
Calling me the C word, but spelling it with a K.
Okay.
Well, on the other Dr. Demento group, they used the C, and I remember that, and I made goddamn sure that the admin of that group knew about it, and people were banned, thankfully.
Yeah, when you add the misogyny, it's just like, that just makes it 20 shades uglier for sure.
It is, and I mean, fortunately, I mean, it's funny. My husband supports what I do in this, and he's very liberal and has sung on some of my videos. But he saw that it's like, I don't know if you should be doing this anymore. This is scary. Wow. And then I said, look at these people. Obviously, they are not smart enough to figure out how to work Google Maps, and so they're not going to find me. And they weren't really. I realized they were showing off for each other. I mean, that's that whole alt-right, the sort of incels and the men, men going their own way. There's that whole, basically because they can't get laid, and so they're blaming it on women.
They have a lot of free time on their hands, as it were.
And a lot of other things in their hands.
Exactly.
And so I actually got revenge on them. I wrote a song called Dear Internet Trolls, which just basically turned it on them. Yeah, please do.
Let's play that later.
What the heck? Let's play it right now. Okay.
Right now. Dear Internet Trolls, thanks for taking so much time to tell me I'm a worthless jerk and you hate my work. But even folks who don't like my videos do count, so you and your pals have really goosed my view count. Though you think my writing and singing sucks, you helped me make a few extra bucks. And you might think that I'd think your comments are scary, but clearly you just need a hug and a dictionary. Dear Internet Trolls, gosh, you really sound upset and you want to get it off your chest, but I'm not impressed. Your anti-Semitic sexist slurs would be more compelling if you could be bothered to check your spelling. And as for using foul language to knock me, I've raised teenage sons, so it's hard to shock me. And you might think that I'd think your comments are scary, but clearly you just need a hug and a dictionary and a good therapist. Now some of what you say may seem hateful, but for making me feel famous I'm grateful. And I don't want to sound shrill myself, but you and your friends have already suggested plenty of possible methods to kill myself, so I'm good, thanks. Dear Internet Trolls, did you think the way you belly ache is gonna make me disappear? Sorry, I'm still here, and I know what's behind the misbehaving around your tricks, showing off for each other by waving around your words. If what I create makes you hate and deplore it, you know you could always just ignore it. So don't think that I think your comments are scary. Clearly you just need a hug and a dictionary and a good therapist and a job and a social life. and a remedial English class and some serious medication and something constructive to do with what's clearly too much free time on your hands.
Yep, that's a good response.
Yeah. It went over really well at FumFest.
Yes. Well, because everybody at FumFest, all the artists or anybody else who puts their work out there has had negative comments, whether it's been as violent or misogynist. People, there is something, and that's just general. People have this freedom of the anonymity of the internet. They feel like, I can say whatever I want. And I want, great, you put a song out or a video or an animation or whatever you're criticizing. Let's see if you can do better. And
that the anonymity is one thing. It can happen in person too, because I was in a workshop with Roy Zimmerman a month and a half ago or so.
I love Roy. Where were you?
Isn't he amazing? This was it was a Unitarian Universalist summer camp in North Carolina. Long story. Anyway, but he was teaching classes on.
I thought we just did that in California.
Yeah, no. Writing parody songs and writing political songs, and it was great. But he told some stories about doing, like there was one song about basically driving while black, which was not a funny song per se, but it was definitely a very incisive, good song, right? And how one guy in the audience was just like staring daggers at him, and at the end of it, when they was doing the autographing CDs and whatnot, came up and said, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And he was a cop, but he was just like livid. I mean, the rest of the show he was just glaring at him, and that's kind of scary stuff for sure. I mean, it's scarier than getting trolled on the internet, which is bad enough.
They don't understand boundaries, and certainly they don't understand, any kind of, and I notated this in one of my comments this morning, no regard for social mores, the unspoken rules of society. This is how you get along in a society. Forget a polite society, any society.
Yeah.
And they just don't care.
Or they honestly, I do not understand why people speak without their brains working. So I met Roy Zimmerman through another duo who used to be in California. They've just moved to North Carolina, Sandy and Richard Riccardi. They're amazing.
They garner a lot of hate on the Demento group as well.
Oh, I bet they have. And they're fabulous. And
great
on top
stuff.
of just the hate for the, and Sandy goes places I cannot, I think because her voice is so sweet and soprano-y, she can swear on stage, and I'm just too, I can't. I can bleep myself, but I did a show with them, and she told me that the last show they had done, this woman walked up to her and said, I love your dress. That would look so much better on you if you wore a girdle.
Really?
And she her jaw just dropped, and without thinking, she just burst into tears. And so she walked away, and this woman looked at her husband, Richard, who's her performing partner, and said, I didn't mean to hurt her feelings. And Richard said, it doesn't matter whether you meant to or not, you did. So maybe think, if you don't mean to hurt, or people who say, I don't mean to be rude, but, or I don't mean to sound racist, but if you ever say that, you are doing the thing you think you don't mean to do.
Guaranteed, what the next sentence is going to be.
Yeah, and I get that on comments. Or I don't mean to sound critical, but your voice is a little odd or whatever. Well,
we find that on the show. I mean, there was a while back, I guess last year, it was after the McCain funeral, and I watched that, and there was a lot of talk about duty and honor and his values and whatever. There's a lot to disagree with McCain for sure. But he did believe in things like that. And then so that got me thinking about, well, what this administration, what is it teaching our kids? They're looking up to government as a role model, or what's the basic value that they're endorsing? So that's where we came up with the song, What's in It for Me? Sung by Betsy DeVos, right? Because that's like the core principle of this administration.
Oh,
get it while you can. Yeah.
What's in it for me? And you don't need to have any ability. You just have to flatter somebody. I mean, I did a song about Ivanka at the G20 summit a few weeks ago. And
love to hear that.
Did you see the clips of her I researched it, and then I because she can form a sentence, but the words mean nothing. And
just
there was
empty content.
Completely empty content of her saying to Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron, I think it's really true in the infrastructure that's gotten a lot better with, more women in things like the power of, like, just this word salad in this pink schmata, like, what on the earth are you wearing? And find out this dress.
We have achieved
cost
schmata on this podcast.
Yes.
Schmata.
I used putz in my latest song, and Jill Winebanks, the MSNBC contributor, she's a fan of mine, and I'm a huge fan of hers. And she will occasionally, not very often, but she did tweet out this last one saying, "It is lovely to hear the word putz used in a song." But I mean, if you watch some of the things they say and you like, are you effing kidding me? This is somebody who's supposedly representing our country, or who really, there's that clip of somebody, I think it was at the G20, asking Trump what he thought of Putin's claim that Western liberalism is over. And he turned it into a diatribe about San Francisco, thinking that's Western liberals. No, Western liberalism is a concept of the kinds of democracies we are all in still, sort of. And like, do you not know that? I mean,
he doesn't know, and he doesn't care.
He doesn't know anything.
No.
Crickets. And I mean, but what's great is kids are, at least some of them are seeing this is not right. So we got to keep pushing our liberal agenda with education to like teach kids, you got to be nice to people and ignore what the president does.
Ignore what your parents do sometimes. That's the biggest problem is that you have parents. And it isn't just the ideology of the politics. It's not just the politics. It's the hate.
And it's the demonization of anybody who disagrees with us, which is why I really fight against that on our side. I think people who voted for him are wrong. The only people who deserve demonization are the people in power, especially the ones who should know better, like, Mitch McConnell and the people who could do something about this and don't.
Right.
But you don't demonize the people who vote for them. They're not the ones, they're wrong, but you can't turn it on them and just say they're all awful and we can't even talk to them. There's a whole thing. There's a big debate over whether to welcome Anthony Scaramucci back into the fold now that he's turned on Trump. The guy's an idiot. And of course he's, but if he wants to be on our side, great. Instead of like, he's not pure because, he enabled them.
It's more whether he can be trusted or not. Same with Cohen.
I don't trust him.
It was the same with Cohen. I still, still to this day don't trust him, and I don't trust. There may well be a Scaramucci song in our future. We'll have to see.
That would be great.
Yeah. Nancy McLemore of our cast is trying to put something together for that, for sure. But by the way, how did you get it started in all this, and how long ago was it?
Oh my gosh! Well, I started writing song parodies when I was a kid, listening to the Dr. Demento show, and I would write them for family things, or I got involved in competitive speech and debate in junior high and high school, so I would write things for our tournaments or that kind of thing. And then I went to college and started doing some comedy music through a singing group. I was in an a cappella group at Yale and decided I was going to write musicals. And so I moved to New York to try to write musicals. So I was always writing songs, but I just seemed to have a bent for comedy songs. But I was always, until recently, writing about life or dating. I had a big hit, not big hit, but a song in New York that some cabaret singers still do called Married, Neurotic, or Gay, as in all the men I meet are one or all of the above.
I think I've heard that, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
It's been around for a while. And then I moved to San Francisco to meet straight men, but
Right. That's solved that problem, yes.
But I did. And I married two of them sequentially, not simultaneously. And
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, I'm not Mormon.
Not Mormon, right.
Just Mormon up for you, folks.
Yeah. Oh God. And so I started writing songs just about my life. I actually had a hit in the San Francisco circuit when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles first came out, and they were kind of a joke. And I wrote what I thought should be their theme song, thinking they'd never go anywhere. And so, that kind of thing. Right. I did write a song about the Oral Roberts scandal. That was kind of the closest I got to politics.
Oh, the 90-foot Jesus? Or
Well, just that all these preachers were caught with their pants down, sort of literally.
Oh, yes, of course.
And so I wrote a song called I'm a Sinner and Proud of It, basically a gospel tune explaining that how can you preach against sin unless you've experienced it? And they're just doing their research. So...
Yeah.
And so I did that and got involved in the cabaret scene. And then I had kids. And so then I started writing songs about kids. And that's kind of what I was doing and teaching music. And then the 2012 election happened when I thought things had gotten as crazy as I'd ever seen them.
True.
Ha.
Yeah.
Cue, like, oh, we were so naive. But I wrote a song about it being a scary time to be a Jewish mother because there was a lot of, all of a sudden, this far right, religious right stuff in politics. And then, Mitt Romney with the binders full of women and defunding Big Bird. It was like, this is fun. So I started writing songs. And at the time, my son was, I think 2012, he was 16. And he told me not to get my hopes up because, Mom, anything over 100 views is viral for old people.
Thanks,
son. And actually, I use that story all the time. And it's like, Mom, you do know I support what you do, and I think you're great. So, so I kind of joked with one website that I had sent these to. Oh, I should do one a week. There's so much material, and they said fine. And then that site ended up, going down about a week later or so, and I just kept going. And I've been doing them pretty much weekly since then. So. First it was just about like the Ted Cruz's and the Tea Party and started doing, there was a time when, during the Obama administration, when they were fighting, the Republicans were fighting some of the climate change stuff saying, well, I don't know about climate change because I'm not a scientist. And so
I'm not a scientist, right.
I did a song called, and I remember Obama saying, I'm not a scientist either, but we have some really good ones who work for the government and we should listen to them.
Yeah.
So I did that and then started doing more.
Those were the days.
Yeah. And then starting in 2015 with Trump, it's like, okay, there is so much material here. And I don't do all Trump songs, but I do a lot.
Have you done...
He makes it tempting.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Lauren, have you done a FALM, February album writing month?
No, I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, it's a thing. The challenge is to write and record an album of...
In a month,
like 14 songs. TV's Kyle has done it a number of times.
I should totally do that.
I think it's FAWM.org. I could be wrong about the .org, but yeah, FAWM. I have committed to, I'm going to do it this coming, write my own stuff, whether it's funny or not, Kyle has filled me in a little bit on the...
I'll have to try that.
It does. They don't have to be.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be 14 Hey Judes or anything like that. It can just simply be. I got this little idea in my head, and I'm going to expand on it and things like that.
Well, and the one thing, whenever anybody asks me about anything creative, the great thing about being on this weekly schedule is I give myself permission to write crap, because even Sondheim or Weird Al or anybody is not going to come out with a gem every week, particularly since I don't make my living doing this. I teach music and music direct, and there are weeks where I have a lot of other stuff going on, so I have to cram it out in no time. But giving myself permission to not have it be perfect has completely freed up. Not that I've done this long enough. I know how to get past writer's block, but not only has my perfectionism gotten, pretty much wiped out, I'm really fast now because I do it so much. And it's a skill like anything else if you do anything regularly. So what's been really cool about it is I used to do some educational kids music and with my sister who's a teacher. And she asked if I could write her some songs about the concept of growth mindset, which is all about embracing failure as a learning opportunity rather than saying, oh, I'm no good at this. And it has really transformed education. And great. And I wrote 10 songs in about a week and a half.
That's
because
great. That's great.
I can go so fast now. So I love going fast.
Well, I can totally identify with that because for many years and decades, I would write little pieces of songs or lyrics here and there. And then I remember taking a workshop with, do you know Jill Sobule?
I've
a songwriter?
Yeah.
She's really good. And she had a week-long class where everyone in the class had to write about a theme. It was like we were going to have a musical. I think the year before it had been like The Godfather, and this year was the 2016 election. So it was like, pick a character and write a song about him. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write the Ballad of Jeb Bush, which we ended up reusing on the show recently. But it was like, oh, you give me a deadline, give me a subject matter, and boom, out it comes.
Of course.
And then it was because of that experience that I said when Lisa and I were putting together the show, it was like, okay, let's have a song in every episode. I'm going to write a song. And that has been so good, to the fact that because we've been doing it for a year and a half now, it is really to that point where we can be recording the episode and the song isn't written yet. I kind of know what it's about. This will be about African colonialism. Okay, great. Okay. And then, like the next day I'll get the lyrics to Chris now, and Chris, does the melody, does the arrangement, and farms out the vocal tracks to different cast members. But we can just do it, and we have complete confidence that it'll be fine. It'll fit the episode, and just because we're doing it constantly.
Exactly. And some of the ones that you come up with will be short term, because especially if you're doing topical stuff. I mean, the one I did about, nepotism Barbie for Ivanka, that's probably going to be, useful in other circumstances. But ones that I did about a very specific issue, I did a whole handful of marriage equality songs when other countries were doing it before we did. Well, they're not relevant anymore, thank God. So, there are things that come and go, and that's okay too. But, if you do enough of them, especially if you're doing one a week or one a month or whatever, after a certain amount, several of them will probably be keepers. And that's been really fun. And so now when I do, and I'm starting to do more performing, it's like, oh, what do I feel like doing? And what will this crowd? Oh, there's going to be more women at this one. I'll do more of I have one called, another one from a bumper sticker. I didn't come from your rib. You came from my vagina. And
I love it.
I could do a whole album of songs inspired by bumper stickers. Actually,
bumper stickers,
that might have to be my February album writing month. Ooh, that could be fun. The songs inspired by bumper
Concept
stickers.
album time.
I could do a whole set of ones about, climate change, a whole set of ones about, I have several about gerrymandering. I mean,
well, when I moved from the D.C. area to Richmond back in 95, it was kind of a culture shock in that even though I was moving from one part of Virginia to another, it was like,
it's very different. Yeah.
Very different. And I remember the one bumper sticker that really was like just almost stopped me in my tracks because it was so appalling. It was something like, if I had known things would turn out this way, I would have picked my own cotton. And I'm thinking, dude,
oh my
really?
God.
I mean, it was like, you're actually driving around with this on your bumper. Okay.
At least we don't need to guess who the assholes are these days. They make it a lot easier.
It was like, wow.
And
okay,
I want to tell all these people, look at all the other times there were controversies. And, people thought that George Wallace was right to fight integration. Look at how that's regarded now. The stuff that people fought, or look at the people who thought that the war protesters were horrible, immoral hippies. Look at how history, I was a history major in college. The people who were on this protest side were almost always right as we look back on it. And so kind of look at your odds, folks, especially the people who actually, like, if you are, oh my God, did you see the outcry over I don't know if you guys have read the New York Times 1619 Project?
I know of it. I've not.
It's amazing,
dug into it yet,
but I will warn you, it's upsetting.
Oh.
So we get the New York Times because even though I don't live there anymore, I still love New York. And I usually read the Sunday Times magazine going to bed on Sunday nights, and it takes me a few nights to get through it. And I started it when it came out. It's like, this is not bedtime reading. It's upsetting.
No.
But the point of it is not to say you have to study slavery in the abstract. It's that so much of what we have in our country today is because of how foundational slavery is to the whole American country being created. Sure. And it's in
the
everything.
Electoral College.
It's the Electoral College. It's the way banking works. It's the way project management is based on plantation slavery, overseers. It's everything. It's in everything. And so to say, oh, we live in a post-racial society because we had a black president, but the outcry over it, they're not saying we are bad people. They're not even advocating reparations or anything. They're just talking about, you have to understand the history of this to see how everything is affected by it. We're not saying you are bad people now because you're white. It's not that. But the right-wing reaction to it is as if they've said every white person is guilty of slavery and has to now become a slave. I mean,
Right.
it's the outcry of like, you don't
Sort
get
of like
to
the caricature.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's sort of like the caricature of the Green New Deal and all that, which, you could quibble with different parts of it maybe, but it's like, no, we're going to have to, kill all the cows and,
right, and nobody
stop,
can ever eat meat again. Like,
yeah, I was like, really? Yeah. But I mean, the racial side, that really does hit a nerve big time.
and as
you
far
can
as
tell
I'm
from the
concerned,
overreaction.
nobody gets to tell me homophobia is dead if they're like, you don't get to weigh in on that unless you are gay. You don't get to tell me sexism is dead if you're not female, and you don't get to say racism is dead if you're not a person of color. It's like, how basic is that? You know, if you are white, don't mansplain, blacksplain, gaysplain. You know, we should have another one.
Yeah.
Gaysplaining.
Straight splaining, gay splaining. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we had a song called "The Handbag's Tale," which is basically so Lisa sings it, and it's basically a plea for pockets. It's like we're women are being held down by the pocketarchy because no women's clothes come with actual usable pockets. And then
I'm sorry,
right in the middle.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's comedy.
Right in the middle, we threw in the mansplainer chorus, well, actually, and, trying to explain why this was not really a problem. So it was. I'm
That's
proud of
even
that one,
better.
for sure.
I did a Handmaid's Tale song, and all I did was I wanted to do a Handmaid's Tale song, and this was when
Yes.
some state passed some fetal heartbeat nonsense, and I took
As
the
they do.
music from Handmaid's Tale, which is so creepy. I can't watch the show; it's just too creepy. And but the music has this minor weird vibe. And it just made me flash. This is where song ideas come from. I had a job once playing background piano in a shopping mall. Now, it was in front of a Nordstrom, but still, it was in a shopping mall. And somebody came up to me, and this was back in the day when George Winston was really popular with all the
yes.
Wyndham Hill
New Age
music.
in Italy.
Yeah, and it was
Yes.
all twiddly, repeated fifths. And she asked if I could play some George Winston. I was just in a mood. So I played a George Winston-esque rendition of the Gilligan's Island theme. And if you repeat those notes enough, you can kind of make it sound like that. So as I was writing this minor weird Handmaid's Tale song, it came out like the Gilligan's Island theme. So I'll send you that one at some point. But yes.
Oh, absolutely.
But I got
I'll tell you what. Well, let's.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, why don't you pick out? Let's hear some more music and whatever your choice.
Well, since I mentioned Nepotism Barbie, and that's still pretty, although she didn't go with him to this last one, but she'll be showing up at something. Well, let's do Nepotism
will.
Barbie. And this is also a shout out to FumFest because this is how unhip I am. But last year, the Library Bards, who are a very popular group in the Fump world, they did
Yes.
their... something it was a parody of the Barbie Girls song about wanting girls who want to play with action figures and video games. I didn't know the song before then. That's how unhip I am. But
Okay.
I heard, it's an earworm song. So when I went to write about and I saw the hashtag Nepotism Barbie, I immediately thought of the Library Bards and that song. So I did it to that song.
Oh, nice. Cool. Well, let's have a listen.
Hi, Ivanka. Hi, Daddy. Want to go to Europe for some photo ops? Sure, Daddy.
Nepotism Barbie girl in a nepotism world. Actually 20, embarrassed myself plenty. I just flipped my hair, intruding everywhere. When I tried, I got a lot of side-eye. Leaders there said I'm an airhead. I'm a blonde bimbo brat playing pretend diplomat. I dress up, nod my head, take a selfie. This whole trip has been planned to embellish my brand, so I'll get even richer myself. See, misuse words, I won't curb, like architecting as a verb. Nepotism Barbie girl, watch me as I twirl, adding nada in my expensive schmata. I don't have a clue what these world leaders do. No time for cramming when I'm Instagramming. Daddy's idol, so entitled. Me, yeah. My commerce is knockoff verses. Photoshopping memes aren't stopping. Me, yeah.
As I flaunt it, I'm unwanted. Yeah, it's the same with the defense side in terms of the whole ecosystem. It's very male-dominated. So,
See me talk like a ditz, interrupt the big kids like a spoiled girl whose folks should just let shop. I'll reply to those snobs, I create lots of jobs, and so what if they're all in a sweatshop? Nepotism, Barbie flake, always on the take, acting silly in my clothes so frilly, with my knockoff heels and my fake ideals. Hard to miss it when I'm so complicit in my Barbie clothes with my Barbie nose. I'm fantastic, most of me is plastic, so unqualified for each job I've tried. Daddy's princess till it's almost incest. Nepotism girl, watch me as I twirl, adding nada in a hideously overpriced schmata. I don't have a clue what job I'm supposed to do. No deals I'm closing, I'm too busy posing. Daddy, that was fun. Now can I be Secretary of State, please, Daddy?
One thing that I wanted to bring up was that, and you touched on this a bit, Lauren, is that you don't just do political stuff. I mean, some of the other non-political things in your set were fall over hilarious because I think it's that Carlin-esque, this is the real world experience. Even if it isn't necessarily our experiences, one of my favorite tunes of yours, and I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure you've done a studio recording of it, and if so, maybe we'll hear it here. Is and I don't even know the title. It's the one about your Jewish family and how strong the Jewish faith is, and what the your slogan, as it were.
the 9-word song.
Is that the one?
The gospel tune about all the Jewish holidays. Okay, so
because and the reason I want to say
Was it
the reason I want to say such a thing.
They tried to kill us.
yes.
We survived.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
eat.
And the reason I wanted to bring that up is that
Jackie Mason.
speaking of comedy under attack,
Yeah.
can you
Yeah.
imagine if
Yes.
Myron Cohen came out today?
Oh wow.
If Jackie Mason came out today?
So let me tell you what inspired that song. Because I am Jewish, we are in the minority, very much so, and it's. I grew up in Orange County, California, which is now a blue county, but it was very red when I was growing up. And I used to joke there were even fewer Jews than Democrats, which is not many. And I did have to explain to an elementary school class that Hanukkah did not involve celebrating potato chips, because somehow they got the fried potatoes.
chips.
Yeah. So, and I'm around it all the time. And I had a job one year. I had already decided I wanted to do a comedy album for Hanukkah, because the only thing that's out there is the Adam Sandler song. And it's a great song, but we need more. And
Yes.
I had written, there's a song on there that's actually pretty angry called The Jew in a Gentile World Blues, about how hard it is to be Jewish when you're in the middle of a holiday season. But I was trying to think of songs for the album. And I had a sub job at a Catholic church during Easter. And it's the church where my husband, who is a cantor, and that was very confusing to my family. It's like, wait, he's Catholic, but he's a cantor? I don't understand. It's a very liberal Catholic church in the Haight-Ashbury. And they're as liberal as a Catholic church can be, but they still have to issue a prayer on Good Friday for the conversion of the Jews. That's in the liturgy. And so I'm sitting there going, I am a musical prostitute. I am doing something I hate just for the money, that I wouldn't do if I weren't getting paid, and I hate it. And then to top it off, the music director had thrown in for Easter Sunday for something fun, Down by the Riverside, which is a great gospel tune, but he did the whitest, lamest gospel version. It was like white
Down by the
people were
riverside.
clapping,
Yes, right.
and they were clapping on 1 and 3.
Yes,
And I
they were.
thought,
Of course they were.
I hate this. I hate being Jewish in this Catholic world. They don't even understand me. I want to write a Jewish gospel tune. And that's where it came from, is this, like, I was so miserable that day. And it's like, I turned it into, and actually I had just written it more complaining, and my sweet Catholic, but we keep a Jewish home, and my husband's like,
Right.
I don't know what all these holidays are. Why don't you explain them in the song? And I thought I had to.
Oh, nice.
So he gets some credit for that, and he's also one of the backup singers on it too.
Oh, excellent. Well, let's have a listen to
Great.
that too. Why not? Okay.
Sometimes it can be difficult to be a Jew. Our holidays confuse folks. Heck, they confuse me too. But now I've heard 9 little words to explain each holiday nice and neat. They tried to kill us, we survived. Let's eat.
They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat.
We've got a lot of holidays, both big and small, and not even a rabbi can define them all. So when in doubt, you just set out chopped liver and something sweet and say, they tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat. Yes, we survived,
We survived,
and even
even
thrived.
thrived.
Maybe that's why Jews have so much drive.
So when in doubt, you just set out chopped liver and a little something sweet and say, they tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat.
They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat.
There's Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah, Pesach, Shavuot, Simchat Torah, Purim, Tu B'Shvat, and Sukkot. Lag BaOmer, Tisha B'Av. That list is not complete. Oh well.
They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat.
Now Tu B'Shvat's about trees and Simchat Torah's about Torah. Passover is Pesach, New Year's is Rosh Hashanah. On Purim we eat Ham and Tashin to celebrate how brave Queen Esther saved the Jews and engineered Haman's defeat because he tried to kill us, etc. Yes, we survived, and that's no jive. Now it's time for all our cousins to arrive. On each occasion, simply say to every goy you meet, happy they tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat. Oh, we survived, we're still alive. Come give your cousin Mordecai high five. Oh, each holiday is always such a treat. They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat.
They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat.
They tried to kill us.
we survived.
Oh yeah, we survived it all. So come on, celebrate and eat.
You look hungry. Have a little noodle kugel.
And we're back.
Are we? Yeah,
Well,
we are.
this has been really amazing. Yes, we are. But what I wanted to know is, are you one of those loyal Jews? That's, I've been hearing about this
I
disloyalty
am
thing.
loyal to me and to Western liberalism
Rock on.
and to the people who are in Israel who hate Netanyahu as much as we hate Trump. I don't prove my loyalty by voting for Trump, and I know what the word loyal actually means, which is I'm loyal to ideals and democracy and decency. So yes, that's the kind of loyal Jew I am.
Well said. I mean, that astounds me that he thought he was being complimentary somehow, or
This
whatever.
is the same man who said he
yeah.
wants people in yarmulkes counting his money.
money, right? Yes.
You can be
Jeez.
anti-Semitic just because you have Jewish grandchildren. You can still be anti-Semitic, which he is. He is the definition of it.
Yeah. Good
Anyway.
grief.
Oh, boy.
Okay,
Hey, all
so-
you folks in the Dr.
On
Demento
that
group, you
note-
should listen to this podcast because you're going to love it. Your heads are going to explode and everything.
You know what? No, because I don't think we use too many big words. You realize some of those people, they don't know what emoluments mean. They don't know what Western liberalism means. So it'll be over
Right.
their
If we
heads.
use bigly words, maybe so. You never know.
Plus I'm female. So, I'm Jewish and female. So
well.
they'll tune me out.
That's,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's room in the BS
Well,
world though, for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed. And everyone knows truly, I mean, we had a holiday song ourselves that was Making Christmas Great Again, which explains how Christians were truly the,
The persecuted.
the persecuted ones, and again, prescience. We do this all the time. Mike Pence just came out this week talking about the VA hospitals where they've taken away the Bibles, and now those Bibles are here to stay now, thanks to our godly leader. So we
and we're not a Christian country, just in case you schmoes forgot. It's a line of one of my songs.
That's right.
I will say, I mean,
God.
this on a very serious note, I don't take offense if people wish me Merry Christmas. It's, 98% of the country celebrate, or 90 something.
Yeah.
But when somebody says happy holidays, I thank them because it makes me feel included. And to me, it's right up there with, having people say what their preferred pronouns are. Mm-hmm. I don't feel the need to change my pronouns, but if it makes somebody else feel better, that to me is just being a decent person. It's not a right or left thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's so politically correct. Yes. I mean, in other words, you're acting like a decent human being.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so tell us how interested listeners, how they can get your music.
Well, funny you should ask. I have a website. It's laurenmayer.com, and that's Lauren like Lauren Bacall if you're my age, or Lauren like Lauren Ambrose if you're young. Mayer like Metro Goldwyn Mayer if you're old, or like John Mayer if you're young. So LAURENMAYER.com. And I have a YouTube channel, Psycho Supermom, but you can look me up on my name. And then on Facebook, I'm Lauren Mayer Comedy Songs. And that's probably the best place to follow me. And my music is available on Facebook and on my website, and also iTunes and CD Baby and Amazon and all major music streaming services.
And the Fump.
Very good.
And the Fump.
World domination.
And I have
the Fump, yes.
2 songs on. I'd give a plug. The Fump did a compilation of female and non-male songwriters called Madam Opus, and I have 2 songs on that. And I will have a song on the next Fump compilation as well.
Rock and roll. And
Yay.
Any functioning
Fantastic.
adult, I believe, probably was the fastest approved by the board song in the history of the Fump. Why? Internet assholes. That's why.
Yay.
Because those of us on the board of the Fump, we saw the kerfuffle in the Dr. Demento group, and we're like, really?
That even caused the good doctor to use the word shitstorm on his show.
Except they thought it was, he thought it was Randy Rainbow.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew it was.
Yeah.
You're the troublemaker.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
look,
right. How to
we're
watch
all
out for her.
troublemakers.
Yes.
But it's been great having you
well,
on.
thank
Lauren.
you guys. And you guys, this
Yeah.
has been so much fun. Thank you so much for having me on, and I hope to see you
Absolutely.
in person soon.
And,
Indeed, I'm pretty sure we'll be at. Chris will
I
definitely
think
be at
so.
Fun
Yeah,
Fest.
yeah, 'cause nobody will hear
almost
anything if
surely
I'm
gonna
not
be
there.
That's right. It'll be It'll be the mime version of Fun
Yes.
Fest. Otherwise, so cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and
Thank
look forward
you.
to getting this out there. We'll send this all out there, publicity wise and all that.
Great,
Okay,
and
we're
I'll post it on
trying to-
all my
yeah.
social
Yeah.
media and everything.
September 5th, and
Excellent.
resist.